Hello all, welcome to Tech Nuggets. Today's topic is MQ and how we can connect to MQ from WebSphere application server. Okay, so before going to the practical session, so let me explain what we're going to implement in the practical session. So as you can see on the screen, so I have MQ installed on the Docker container which has the IP 172.17.02, and that Docker container resides in the virtual machine with IP 192.168.0.155. so this is one VM, and on the side you can see I have two separate VMs. In one of the VM, WebSphere application server is running, which has IP ending with 152, and I have another Windows machine which has IP ending with 51. In the Windows machine, I just installed MQ client just to test the connections. So at the end of this session, we will be connecting from WebSphere application server to the MQ which is running in the Docker, and then consume or put or get the messages. Okay, so whenever we talk about MQ, we talk about queues, channels, listeners, etc. In queues there are local queues, remote queues, transmission queues, etc. So for example, let's say we have two banks, bank A which is the source and bank B which is the destination. So we want to send a message from bank A to bank B. So let's assume that SORCQM, the source queue manager, is in the bank A side and destination queue manager is in the bank B side. And whenever the bank A wants to send a message to bank B, so it will put the message in the send queue, and bank B will receive in the receivers queue. So now I will create the infrastructure for the bank A, which is source queue manager. So first I will create the source queue manager, and then I will create a send queue. Send queue is a type of remote queue, and I will be creating a transmission queue which is TX queue, and I will be creating a listener in this queue manager so that we can connect from our MQ client using the server connection channel. So let's get into the practical session. So I am in my Docker container, so let me check the IP. So it's 172.17.0.2. so to create source queue manager, I'll be issuing a command. So source queue manager is created. Let me start that source queue manager. It started, and I am going inside that source queue manager to create the objects like our remote queue, which is send queue, and transmission queue, channels, etc. So once I am inside that source queue manager, so I am running this command. So it will create a remote queue of name send queue, and it will have the remote destination queue address, okay, and then destination queue manager, okay, and then to send the messages to this destination queue in this destination queue manager, it will first put the messages in the transmission queue. So let me issue that command. So that is created, and here if you see this, so I just referenced it that we will be using that transmission queue of name tx queue, but we haven't created it yet. So let me create that. So transmission queue is also of type local queue, and its usage is transmission queue. So it's created, and next is to create a channel. So I will call that channel name as source destination channel. So if you see the diagram, so we said that there will be a channel connecting between that these two queue managers. Of its name would be SORC dest ch, and we need to give the IP, IP of the destination queue manager and the port of the destination queue manager. So I'll be issuing that command. So here you can see I'm defining a channel. This is the name of the channel, and the channel type is sender channel, and connection name, so it's just not a name, it has to be the IP address or the host name of the receiver's queue manager and the listener of the receiver's queue manager, which is 30,008, and I will be using transmission queue, which we have created in the earlier step. That is done. So let me display the channel. It is good. So here you can I'm starting it just accept, but it won't start because we just finished the half of the part. So next thing is we need to create the listener in the source queue manager. So for that I'll be issuing a command called define listener, and its name is SORC lstr1, and it's using the TCP type communication with the port 30,007. So now we are done with the source queue manager. So let me exit out. Now let me start the listener. So listener is started. So this is the web console of the MQ. So it comes with the product, right? So we just need to open this console. So here you can see I created SORC QM. This is the source queue manager, and in that I created the two queues. One is a remote queue, and another one is the transmission queue. And I created one listener, which we just started with the port 30,007, and the channel we created is status is retrying. As I said, if you remember the diagram, the source to destination channel is two part. It is common to source queue manager and the destination queue manager. Since we finished only half of the part, its status is retrying because it needs something else from the destination queue manager. So here I can put the messages. Once I create the messages, it will immediately goes to the transmission queue, from send queue to the transmission queue. So if you again remember the diagram, it has to go to the receiver's queue in the destination manager through this channel. So now we are done with the source side. So let's try to connect from the external application, which is Windows client. Actually when you create a queue manager, so system also will create some of the default channels for you. So here it's not showing the default channel, so you can see cell channel type all and show all, save. So see, these are all the default channels and they are inactive. So one channel we need is server connection channel. So we will use this channel to connect from the external applications. Of course we can create our own server connection channel, okay, but since we are connecting with just one or two applications, so one channel will be good. If let's say you have thousands of applications are connecting to your queue manager, then it's better to have different types of channels, okay, so that you can have like a channel authentication, etc. We will come to that part okay. So now let's try to connect from the Windows client, which is having the IP address ending with the 51. So, and I opened up logs for this source queue manager in the errors folder, okay. So let me tail that log. So when I don't expect it to connect, because as I said, there is by default channel authentication is enabled. That means the channel, whenever you want to connect to a queue manager, by default that authentication is enabled. That means you will not be able to connect, otherwise everybody would be able to connect, right? So let me try to connect with this command. Since I have MQ client installed in my Windows machine, so it will be able to understand this program AMQS NXE, and it's just a test program, okay. So I'll be connecting, as I said, Docker is running on the 155, and inside the Docker our queue manager is listening at port 30,007, and we will be using the deep out of the box server connection channel, and we'll be connecting to the queue manager. So I prepared, I opened all the ports, so there is no ports issue, okay. So let me hit enter. So if I hit the enter, what happened? Let me run it again. cmd, open the command prompt, copy, then hit enter. Okay, it is trying to connect. So you can see it gave me an error code 2035. At the same time, on the queue manager error logs, I can see the channel is blocked, okay. So, and I can get the reason for this code, MQRC MQ reason code 2035, which means MQRC not authorized. That means the connection is not authorized. Now let's handle the channel authentication. So as you can see, it says that channel is blocked, okay. So let me run the run MQSC, so that we can go into the source queue manager and display QMGR. So you can see here channel authentication is enabled. So let me disable it and see what happens. So alter QMGR is channel authentication is disabled, okay. So let me refresh the security, okay. So let's go back to the logs. So I already cleared the logs and telling the logs again. So let's issue the same command from Windows. So here let's see what happens. So here you can see it's still giving the same error code 2035, okay, which is MQRC not authorized. But if you closely look at the logs, these logs are is different from what we had before. Previously it says that channel was blocked, but right now it is saying that the user, this user Harris, okay, which is my Windows user. If you see the Windows user, the Harris, okay, so this user doesn't have privileges to this queue manager. Okay, so what is this? So let's go back to our diagram. If you see, we have authentication at the authentication or authorization at the channel level. Also we have the authorization at the queue manager level. So here what we did, by issuing the command alt qmgr ch channel authentication disabled, we removed the authentication for the channel but not the queue manager. So let's see how we can handle that one. Since these are the the queue manager level authentication, we need to tackle at the OS level. So let me come out of this source queue manager. Let me clear that. So I am in the Docker container with user mqm. So let's see what the user Harris has the rights. So let me issue the command. So by the way, I already created a user called Harris, okay, in this machine in the Docker. Okay, so that user has to be here. I mean, there are other ways where you can handle that one too, but for the sake of our discussion simplicity, okay, I just created a user Harris, okay, which matches with the Windows user, but the password doesn't need to match, just okay, just so you remember. So to display the current rights for the user Harris, okay, which is the Linux user, and on the queue manager sorc qm. So let me hit enter. So you can see entity has the following authorization, but there are nothing. Okay, so these are the so just to start with, let me give the connect permission, set mq authentication. So -m sorc qm is the queue manager, okay, of type queue manager, and the username is -p Harris, and the grant I will be giving is the connect. So I just issued this command. So let me go to logs, clear the logs. Okay, so now let me try to connect from the Windows client. So we got another error. Let's see. So what it's saying is this entity Harris doesn't have the permission inquire, okay, on this queue manager. But if you remember earlier, okay, we just gave the plus connect permission, okay, but when it needs to have the it needs to have the inquiry permission. So let me hit inquire, okay, and let me try to connect again. Same thing. Okay, seems this time we did not receive the error. Okay, now we are able to connect. Let's try to put some messages in the queue. So to put the messages in the our send queue, okay, via remote client, we need to issue some commands. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to put a message in the send queue, okay, and via the Windows command prompt, which is a different system. So I need to set the server. So I need to set the environment variable, okay, mq server, and this is the server connection channel, okay, and the type TCP we are going to use, and the IP address of the machine where this source queue manager is running, and the listener of the source queue manager, which is 30,007. So I just set it. don't know why it is taking so much time. Okay, so I set this environment variable MQ server. So let me put some messages in the send queue in the SYRC queue manager. So let me open it. Let's see what we are going to get. So you can see it says that unable to open a queue for output, and in the error logs we have some errors. It says that entity Harris has insufficient authority to access the object send queue. Okay, so what it's saying is, yes, the user Harris has the access to queue manager, okay, but inside the queue manager it doesn't have the access to the send queue. And what type of access it needs on the send queue? It says that it needs to have the put access, because if you see the program, we try to put some messages in the queue. So now let's run the command to give the authority to the Harris. Okay, so before giving authorization, let's check what Harris has on the send queue. So if you say I just run this command, okay, so what user Harris has on the queue name called send queue in the queue manager SYRC QM, it says that this user has following authorization, which is nothing. So here I can give another command, okay, set MQ authorization on this queue manager, and inside the queue manager on this queue, okay, for this user I want to give browse access, display access, put access, get access, inquiry access, okay, because the message can be put or get, that can be displayed or browsed, okay, or just for the inquiry purpose. So for now I will just give the put permission, because it just complained about the put. Okay, so let me go back to the logs, clear the logs. I just want to clear the logs every time. So let me do this, run the program again. So I'm trying to put some, so you can see this time the queue is opened, okay, so it's blinking. That means I can put the messages test message 1. So the message is written to the send queue. So let's check that message in the web console. Okay, where is that message? So you can see, right, that message actually moved from send queue to the transmission queue. Okay, so as I said in the beginning, the messages, whenever you put a message in the send queue, okay, it will be immediately moved to the transmission queue. Okay, from the transmission queue it will be moved to the destination, like wherever it wants to go. It can go to bank B, which is our destination queue manager. So let me browse that message. Okay, I think we will not be able to browse the messages in the transmission queue. Okay, so if it is in the send queue, we will be local queue, will be able to browse it. Okay, but you can see the message. Let me put another message, and it will be moved to 3. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so on the queue manager level, we secured the queue manager so that only user Harris can connect to the queue manager. But on the channel level, what we did is we just disabled the authentication. That means everyone can connect to the channel but not the queue manager. Okay, so here we also want to secure this channel. So let me go back to the run mqsc source queue manager, and previously we disabled the channel authentication. You can see that, right? So let's see what are the channel authentications records available on the queue manager. Okay, so to display the channel authentication records, I can type display channel authentication. So right now there are 3 authentication records available, but since we disabled the channel authentication, so these won't be effective. So what I will do is I will delete all these records, because these are the default authentication records that are created when you created the queue manager. So I want to delete everything and I want to put my own rules. So I will be deleting this first record. So to delete that, you need to issue this command, set channel authentication. Just copy this one and paste it here, and then type address map, copy this one and paste it here, and address, copy this one and paste it here, and action should be remove. So you can see that authentication record is deleted. So to check that, let's display it again. So you can see right now there are only 2 channel authentication records. So let me delete the other 2. Record remove and delete. So let me display the channel authentication again. So you can see there are no authentication records available. So whenever you delete something, right, so you need to refresh the security, delete something in the security records. Okay, so right now there are no rules. Okay, so one interesting thing, so I don't have any channel authentication records, right? And what if I enable the channel authentication on the by setting channel authentication as enabled? Let's see what will happen. So to enable channel authentication, we need to alter the queue manager. Okay, so I am altering the queue channel authentication as enabled. So after that, I want to refresh the security. Let's try to connect to this queue manager from the Windows client. So I am putting the EMQS put C. See, so even the channel authentication is enabled, since there are no records, right? No channel authentication, no records to stop. Okay, to the for the clients to connect to this channel. So that's why we are able to connect there. Okay, since we don't have any channel authentication records, our queue manager channels are exposed. That means everyone can connect. So what I want to do is I want to create a channel authentication record, okay, for all the channels that exists in this queue manager. Okay, so that no client can connect. So that means we will be adding a backstop rule. That means we will stop everything, every client to be able to connect to this queue manager. Okay, and on top of it we will add a wildcard entry records. That means, let's say if you have a requirement, let's say I want to connect only I want to allow only this Windows M2 client from this specific IP, or I want to allow only a specific user to connect to this queue manager, something like that. Okay, so let's first add the backstop rule. So the backstop rule is something like this. So set channel authentication, okay, type address map, that means, and address would be star. That means for all the IP addresses or host names, user source no access, and description is just for your reference, just it says backstop rule and action adding. Okay, so when I add this one, okay, that means no one can connect from any IP address. That means the whole channels, all the channels are secured. Okay, because we added this rule for all the channels. Now let's try to put some messages in this queue manager. See, you can see, so now there is no user access. So for this channel, right, it's blocked, right, from the address, because this is the address where we are trying to connect. So which is Windows client. Okay, so we are successfully able to stop Windows client from connecting to the queue manager. Okay, so now my requirement is I want to allow only this Windows client, okay, which is having IP 51 to connect this channel, okay, but not any other clients. So for that, we need to create a wildcard entry on top of the backstop rule. Okay, so the wildcard entry syntax is this one. So set channel authentication, okay, for this system def sphere connection, okay, for that specific channel, okay, and the type address map, and the address is whatever the address you want to allow the connection from, and user source channel action add. Okay, so once you add it, refresh the security. Now let me clear the logs, tail the logs, and let me try to put the messages. See, I'm able to connect. So one thing, right, so from this IP, okay, 51, okay, anyone can connect. It doesn't matter whether you are the user Harris, whether it's a user 123 or anything. Okay, any application that is running, that is coming from this IP, okay, can connect, right? Okay, good. So what I want to do is, see, I just disconnected. So these are all, it's not error messages. It says that the connection is abruptly ended. So what we did is to allow connection from this specific IP address. But now what I want to do is, instead of IP, okay, I want to allow specific user. Okay, it doesn't matter from which IP the user is connecting. I want to allow a specific user, but in reality you need to put both conditions, right? Because the hackers may be using IP spoofing, right? So that they will be able to connect, right? So that's why you have to have both rules in place. You have to have the IP address and username and username. Okay, username channel application records. So let me remove this rule. So to remove, simply set channel authentication. Just copy this one, type and address, and then action remove. You don't need to put user src channel. Okay, so this will successfully remove our record. So let me clear the logs. And let me try to connect again, so that we are sure it's working. So as you can see, it is not able to connect. Okay, region code is 2035. Now I am placing a rule on top of the backstop rule. It says that allow for this system test server connection, okay, type user map. Previously we gave the address map, okay, and right now we will be giving user map and client user Harris. Okay, so that means if a user called Harris is trying to connect from anywhere, it doesn't matter which IP, okay, just allow him. Okay, sorry, it should be not action remove, it should be add. Okay, so there is small syntax error, which is MCA user is missing. So that syntax is on this one, okay, type user map, client user Harris, and MCA user Harris. That means whenever user Harris is trying to connect, convert that user as, treat that user as Harris in this OS, okay, and then allow whatever this Harris has access to. Well, let me add it, so, and refresh the security. Okay, so let's try to connect from the Windows client. Before that, let me clear the logs as always. And let's try to connect it. See, there is no error and I am able to put the messages. Let's see from this same Windows client, okay, what if we pass the, if we try to connect with a different user ID. Okay, instead of Harris, let me pass another user ID. So for that, let me close the connection, okay, and clear the logs. And to pass the different user ID, let me, so MQ sample user ID, okay, user 123. Okay, when you set this environment variable, okay, so the connection would go on behalf of the user 123. Okay, let me set that. Okay, and then let me try to connect. It is asking passwords. Let me put some check password. So I can see the background, it says that user 123. So the failed authentication was caused by the queue manager channel authentication record. Okay, so that means this user, okay, user 123 doesn't have access, so only Harris can connect from anywhere. Okay, so to unset that, let me issue this command. Okay, so now the user is unset, user 123. So now again the user would be Harris. So let me try to connect again. Okay, so what happened? Okay, so the user ID is, it says that null. Okay, so I guess that's not how you unset the environment variable. So let me close this, okay, and open the command prompt again. So it's a new session, so we need to set the server connection again. So to set the server connection, so it would be set MQ server connection, okay, and then put so again disconnected. Okay, so we are done with the source queue manager. So we saw how to create a remote queue, transmission queue, senders channel, and how to secure the channels on the source queue manager, how to secure the queue managers with the queue manager authentication schemes. So now we will finish the other side, that means creating the destination queue manager and its objects. So our first goal is whenever I put a message in send queue, okay, it has to go to the receive queue. So let's start creating the destination queue manager. In the destination queue manager, we will create the receive queue, listener, and receiver channel. Okay, so remember we created a sender channel on the source queue manager. Okay, similarly we need to create the receiver channel. Okay, so to create the destination queue manager, I will issue this command, create mqm. So destination queue manager is created. Now let me start the destination. Let me start the destination queue manager. So it is started. Let me go inside the destination queue manager, okay, to change the objects. So first we need to create the receiver's queue. Okay, this is where the messages will be received. So to create that, it just simply define queue local receiver's queue, and we will create the receiver channel. So if you remember, we created the senders channel with the same name, SORC destination channel, but we gave the remote queue manager name and everything on that channel, senders channel. Okay, we'll be creating the same name on the destination queue manager, but the type is receiver. And then we will be creating the listener. Okay, so 3008. So this is what we gave during the creation of the sender channel, right? 3008 is the port that we'll be creating in the destination queue manager. So 3008, okay, is created. So let's see the channel, okay, and the source QRM. Okay, the channel, sorry, this is the listener. Okay, so the channel, if you see, okay, the one we created is source destination channel. It is saying retrying. Okay, because as I said, that we've only created half the part, but right now we created the complete part. Okay, so let's try to first what we need to do is we need to start the listener. Listener is started, and you can display the listener's status as okay, so it is running. Okay, so we are done with the creating objects in the destination queue manager. But if you see, okay, this source to destination channel, okay, which is responsible to take the messages, okay, from this source queue manager to the destination queue manager, is in retry. Okay, let's try to revive it. So for that we need to go to the source queue manager. Okay, to go to the source queue manager, simply run mqsa source queue manager. Here we need to start the channel. Okay, start SORC channel, it is accepted. Okay, and let's display it. So you can see the status is running. Okay, this means the channel is running. So we can also verify that here. Okay, source station channel. So let me refresh it. So you can see the senders channel, okay, on the source queue manager is running. Okay, we can also see on the destination queue manager. Let me show the channels. see, source destination channel, but this is type receiver. Okay, so with this the setup is complete. That means if we put the send queue, okay, if we put some messages in the send queue, it will go to the transmission queue first and then it will go to the receiver's queue. So let me add a widget to see the messages. So in the destination queue manager, I want to see the queues. Okay, so you can see already queue depth is 8. That means, you know, whatever the messages we have kept in the Windows client, everything, right, those were stored in the transmission queue manager, transmission queue. Okay, but if I refresh it, everything is transferred from transmission queue to the destination queue. Okay, so let me put these next to each other so that, you know, we will see. Okay, so let me try to put some messages here. Test message. Okay, I put it. So the message is already passed, okay, to the receiver's queue. So if I refresh it, the count is 9. Let me try to browse the messages. So you can see the test message at 11:14 a.m. Okay, so let me put another message, okay, refresh it, the count is 10. Browse messages, see, other messages. So it doesn't matter, okay, how the messages we put on the send queue. Okay, it will always be taken to the receiver's queue via transmission queue and through the sender's channel. Okay, I mean it's the same senders and receiver channel. On the destination side we are saying receiver channel, but on the source side we are saying sender's channel. Okay, so I will tell you again. So when you put the message will go to the transmission queue, and from transmission queue it will go to the sender's channel. Okay, and then from sender's channel it will go to the receiver's channel on that destination side, and the receiver channel, okay, it goes to the receiver queue. So you can see the same thing on the diagram too. So sender's channel to transmission queue to, you know, the first part. Okay, you can imagine the first part is sender's channel. Okay, and then it goes to the receiver's channel. Okay, via the receiver channel is listening at the port 2008. Okay, and the message is kept in the receiver's queue. So let's try to put some messages on the from the Windows client too. Okay, so this message is from Windows client, hit enter. So let's go to the web console and refresh the depth. So right now the depth is 11, and you can browse the messages, and the message you can see right 11:16. Okay, so this message is from the Windows client. Okay, so with this we are done with the setup on the MQ side, and we also tested, you know, the connections from the Windows client, not Windows like MQ client. Okay, maybe Windows, Linux, Node.js, any other client. Okay, so now we will go to the WAS, web sphere application server. So we will create, you know, configuration on the WAS console. Okay, and then we will utilize those configurations in IID, IBM Integration Designer. Okay, we will see how to consume as well as put the messages in the queues. Okay, so let me go to the WAS console. Okay, so if you go to the WAS console, you can see the JMS in the resources. So in the resources there are a couple of things. Okay, so topics, okay, activation specs, queue connection factories. Okay, but for our discussion purposes, okay, we will be seeing queue connection factories, queues, and activation specifications. So what are queue connection factories and activation specifications? Okay, queue connection factories is used when you want to put a message in the queue. Okay, when you want to put. Okay, and the activation specifications are used when you want to consume a message from the queue. That means you want to poll a queue continuously. Okay, so whenever a new message is put in that queue, okay, so that message will be consumed by the VAS and given to the consuming application. So for our sample application that will be creating IID, so what we will do is, first we will try to put the message in the send queue. Okay, that is one module, and second thing is we will try to poll this receivers queue. That means whenever a message is received, okay, in this queue, okay, that message I want to consume in my IID module. So these are the two things we will cover. One is put messages and second thing is get messages. Okay, put messages for the send queue and get messages for the receivers queue. So as I said, to put the messages, we will be creating the queue connection factories and queues. Okay, to put the messages. So to create the queue connection factories, click on the queue connection factory, click on new, click on Raspberry MQ messaging provider, and the name I will be giving since we'll be using source SORCQM, okay, I want to give the same name. Source QM. Okay, so TMS source QM, it can be anything. Okay, just to identify. Click on next, enter all the required information to this featured, and the queue manager. Okay, queue manager or queue sharing group. So as you can see in this, this is the queue manager we want to give, SORCQM, right? That is the queue manager. Click on next. So that transport bindings and client. So host name would be 192.168.0.155. so this is where my Docker client or the inside the Docker client I have MQ, right? So you can give the 155, which is the VM, and the port. Okay, so the port would be 3007, right? Because this is the listener port that exists on the SORCQM. So that means that you will be able to give the 3007. Okay, and the server connection channel. So the server connection channel, okay, is whatever we used for the on the Windows client, right? Which is you can see it here in the web player console too. So for the SORCQ manager, okay, so we use the server connection channel. See that's right, system.def.servercon. So I will just copy this and then paste it here. Click on next. So right now, when you test this connection, okay, what do you think you will get? You will get the error, because you remember we gave the authorization for only to user Harris, but here in this, when we are configuring, it did not ask us any credentials, right? That means it will send the connection whatever the process is running in the on this server. So let me open the logs, true, tail. Okay, so let me test the connection. So this is kind of the enhancement that IBM needs to do. So this is the only chance you will get when you want to test the connection. Okay, there is no other place where you can test the connection or no other time. Okay, once you are done with this setup, you will not be able to test the connection from bash console. You need to create your own application or something else to test the connection. So let me click on the test connection. So you can see 2035 error, MQRC not authorized, and if you see from here it says that this is address blocked. Okay, so ended with the abnormally. So that means you need to allow the connection from this IP address. Okay, so we are done with the creating queue connection factories. Now next step is to create the queues. So click on queues, click on new, so spare MQ messaging provider, and the queue, the name I just want to give like SORC QM. So I'll be giving SORC and not QM. I want to create like send queue. Okay, anyway, this is for just for our identification purposes, right? So JMS, I'll put just name and the queue name. Okay, the queue name is SORC underscore QM. Oh, sorry, that's not queue name. The queue name is send queue. Okay, because this is where I want to put the messages. Send queue, and the queue manager is SORC QM. Okay, so let's verify again. So SORC QM is the queue manager, send queue is the queue, and click on apply, review, save. We're not done with that yet. So as far as send queue, go there again, connection properties. So here it is asking for queue manager host, which is 155, and the queue manager port, okay, which is 30,007, and server connection channel, which is the system def server connection. So we can verify it again. So SORCM system def server connection. Okay, so one thing you can see, it says that inactive. Okay, don't worry about it. So the server's connection will go to inactive whenever there is no active connections. Okay, if there is an active connection, it will go to active. Okay, so we can try that. So let me put the messages. So I just connected, right? So if you refresh it, okay, it says the server connection channel comes to running. Okay, so in queue, okay, so username password is different. I mean, you don't need to give, right? If you don't give, it will take from the activation specifications. Okay, so click on apply. Remember, we have queue manager level security and channel level security, and there could be two different users we can use, but for our discussion simplicity, we'll just keep one user. Save, done. Okay, so we are done with the queue connection factories. We are done with the topic connection factories. So this is enough to get the message, so to put the messages. Okay, but to get the messages, to consume, to poll, we need to create the activation specification and one queue. Okay, one receiving queue and one activation specifications. Okay, so let me create the activation specification first. So as I said earlier, we will be consuming the message from the receiver's queue. Okay, so we need to create the activation specification for the destination queue manager. So go to activation specifications, click on new queue. So the name I want to give like so this is the destination manager, right? So test underscore qm, test underscore qm, yes, application specifications. So I want to give the same name, jms underscore test. Click on next. Okay, so here one thing, so here is asking for the another destination JNDI name. So this is kind of confusing. Okay, so this destination is where these messages needs to be put. Okay, let's say you are having a MDB, okay, you're having an application, okay, where you want to use that consumed messages. Okay, so this destination JNDI will be the messages consumed, okay, the messages which are pulled will be sent to this JNDI name. Okay, whenever you created application, okay, you can get those messages in that application. So for now I can create JMS, you can create dest, this you can give any name for now, test. Okay, so message selector, nothing, queue, test type is queue. Okay, enter all the required information. So queue manager name, okay, the queue manager name is obviously the test underscore qm, test underscore qm. Click on next, binding in the name. So from now on it will be the same, host name is same, the port, okay, this time we need to give the port of 30,008, okay, because on the destination queue manager we are having the port 3008, where the listener is listening. So 30,008, and server connection channel is the same thing. So on the destination queue manager also, okay, we are having the same connection, sorry, same server connection channel. Okay, so what did I do? Oh, sorry, so I put the listeners, we need to show the destination. So you can see, so for every queue manager, okay, whenever we create a queue manager, this server connection channel is created automatically, but if you want, you can create another one too. So by giving the same server connection, click on next. So it's the same story. If you click test connection, you get 2035 error. Click next, finish. Okay, so you're done with this one, destination qm, yes, specifications. So let me here, what we need to do is we need to give the authentication alias, which is Docker Harris. Okay, click on apply, review, and then save. So we are done with the application specifications, right? But we need to create the queues. Okay, receiver queue is, remember, for queue connection factories, to put the messages we created a queue, senders queue. Similarly, to receive messages, we created a application specifications, and we need to create a receivers queue. Okay, so click on new, spare messaging provider, and it's dest. Okay, the dest queue manager will have the receive queue. Okay, so I just want to copy it, receive queue, JMS, test receive queue, and the queue manager is test underscore qm. Okay, oops, sorry, I was confused. This is not the queue, this is the queue manager, test queue, and the queue name is receive queue, just this part. Okay, So the queue name is receive queue and the queue method is test qm. Click on apply and save. So where is that test queue? Let's go again, and here I need to give the configuration. Queue manager host is same and the port is at same for 30,008. And server connection channel, system def server connection channel, user ID and password, don't need to give because we already specified in the. Click on the review, click on save. Okay, so we are done with configuring on the VAS console. So once we are done with those JMS configuration, right, so we need to restart the server. So let me restart it. Okay, it is stopping. So what you can do, okay, you can go to your logs, okay, the server logs for this VAS console, and while it is starting, okay, just look for if there are any errors, like sometimes you might misconfigure some JMS connections, right? So look for any errors and then correct them. Okay, so while the server is starting, so we can create a integration module. Okay, so files, go to new module, okay, and that module name is test mq connection factories. Okay, connection factories, or whatever, mq jms settings. Okay, I want to create the same thing. Okay, open, click on next. I don't want to include any library. Okay, test settings. Okay, click on next, finish. Okay, so here what I want to do is I want to create a interface. Okay, new interface, and the interface is get messages from queue. Okay, and that interface I want to create one-way operation. Here you can create one-way question response, but I want to create just one-way operation. So in the operation name is get. Okay, received message. Okay, can save. Similarly, I want to create another interface. Okay, put message. Okay, click on finish. In that I want to create one more operation. So the operation one is send message. Okay. Click on save. So now let's go to the assembly diagram. The assembly diagram, first what I want to do is I want to test the outbound imports. That means outbound import means you want to send the message out. Okay, you want to put the message in the queue. Okay, that means you will be using the connection factories and queues, but not the activation specifications. activation specifications is when you want to receive the messages, that means for the inbound exports. Okay, so our interface, since we are sending the message, okay, I will be creating the put message. I'll be selecting the put message as my interface. Click on next. So here it is saying, okay, two things. One is, you can directly specify the queue manager and etc, blah blah blah, okay, directly here, okay, without doing anything on the VAS. Okay, you can directly queue the queue manager as source queue manager, okay, queue name as send queue, and then a host name as 192.0.55, and the server connection channel port name is 30,7. Okay, so we have all this information on this diagram. Okay, but we don't want to do that, right? Because we want to, the configurations and everything to set it on the VAS console. Okay, this is how to do it in reality. This is, the first option is just to test it on our local machines. Okay, but if you want to test it in different environments, okay, you do the JNDA names. So the queue connection factory. Okay, so it is asking for the JNDA name for the queue connection factory because we want to put the messages. Okay, so it is not asking for the activation specifications, it is asking for the queue connection factory and the send queue. Okay, so these are the things we created in the VAS console. So you can see my server is back online. So go to queue connection factories. So the name we gave is JMS underscore source QM. Okay, we just need this name. All the port numbers and everything we have given in that. Okay, it's not tracking. Let me go inside JMS source QM. JMS source QM. Okay, and the send queue. Send queue also we created, right? So if I go to the queues, SORC send queues, so we need to get the JNDA name. Okay, so these are enough. Click on finish, click on save. Okay, so this is enough. Now let's test it. So test component. Okay, so here we need to give like this message is from IID. Okay, so this message should be received in the send queue. Okay, actually if you remember, when it actually goes to the send queue, now inside MQ we have this transmission queue and everything, right? Actually it will go to the receiver's queue. So right now the messages count is 11. Okay, so let me put that finish. So you can open the logs. It is installing the application, then it is trying to test it. So since it is the first time, it takes some time. Actually you can see the message is done. It says invoke return, and if we don't have any errors, I can see JMS is activated. Okay, MDB application is activated. So now let's go to the queue and refresh the scene. So you can see the count is 12. Let's try to browse the message. So August 26. So you can say this is the binary message, because since this is web UI, web console, right? So you will it's not showing the actual message. Okay, but if you have other clients like MQ Explorer, or you can go to your you can go to your actual queue manager and read the message, but we got the message, right? So this is how we use the connection factories and queues to send the messages. Okay, so now we will see how to use the activation specifications, to consume the messages or to poll the queue. No, save no. So I'm deleting the MQ import. Okay, so to consume you need to have the create the inbound exports. So that means green. Okay, so green, still you want to get the messages. This time not put the message. Of course it's the same environment. The names are different, but inside it just have one operation to send, either send or receive the message. Click OK, click next. So similarly, as I said, you can give the all the information here, or you can give the JNDI. So let's go to the activation specifications. So here we are looking for the JMS test QMAS and give it in our component, and the receivers queue. Okay, so receivers queue also we created. So queues, so this is where now we want to receive the messages. Sorry, we want to receive the message from. So here go to this and click on finish. Okay, but how do we know once we see the messages? Of course it polls the queue and then receive the messages. We want to know the message is received, right? So how do we see that? For that I will implement a simple Java component. So go to Java, connect it, just the interface, click component, click OK. I want to get new package harish.com, click OK. So here received message, right? So I just want to print the message. So here I just want to print these messages and the actual message in between the begin and end. Click on save. So click on save here too, right? So what it does is it pulls the receive queue, okay, and then sends the messages to this component. Okay, so save it again. Let's test it. To test it, simply first let's clean it. Usually just better to clean the server and then clean the project. That way you will not be sending any unnecessary components. Okay, so we can open the logs. So I see some error. See, the security authentication was not verified destination queue manager. Okay, we got it. Remember, we still we are getting 2035 error, right? Because the destination queue manager, okay, we did not handle the channel authentication, queue manager authentication, everything on the destination queue manager. We did everything on the source queue manager but not on the destination queue manager. Let's do that. For that, let me go to the destination queue manager, cd destination queue manager errors, tail minus f. Okay, where do I have it? Okay, okay, 2565 difficult routed abnormally. Okay, so I need to log in the actually first I want to give the destination queue manager authentication for Harris. Okay, we did the same thing for source queue manager. Okay, for the destination queue manager, what I want to do is, so this one, connect plus inquiry, and for the receive queue, okay, so on top we give the Harris user to connect to the queue manager and then inquire, and inside the queue manager for the receive queue I want to give browse this port get inquire. Okay, so this settles the queue manager level security. Now let's go to the destination queue manager to handle the this CHLAUTH. okay, oops, not this one, this queue manager. So for our purposes, okay, you can simply put channel authentication enabled. I can simply disable it, that way everything works fine. But I want to allow the connection from that 152. okay, so IP paste rule. Okay, not IP paste, so we'll keep the same thing as source queue manager, just source user paste. So first let's see what are the channel authentication records that are available. Channel authentication records, so we have default 3, so let me remove all these 3. Remove first one, remove second one, remove the third one, and now we don't have any roles. Okay, so I want to create the backstop rule. So set channel authentication, so this will add the backstop rule, and on top of backstop rule I want to allow the user, okay, user to connect from anywhere, whether it's 152 or anything, add. Okay, so once it's done I want to refresh the security. Okay, so from here this is done, so let me refresh the logs. Clear the logs, dilate. Okay, so let's clean once again. And open the logs. Okay, installed successfully. Let's see if we receive any other errors. Okay, so we have one error. Okay, it says that destination QMS after specifications is deactivated. Why it is deactivated? It says that J&A destination bindings must have custom properties md write, md read to s, and message body to mq. Okay, so this setting, what it's saying is, for the destination queue, okay, for the receive queue there should be custom properties. So let's go to the queues. Okay, we did not see the same error for the when we are putting the messages, but when we receive the messages, okay, so this is where we are receiving the messages from, right? So if we go to advanced, so there are two ways to handle this. One is you can simply go to the custom properties, click on add new, and add this like md write as name and s as value. Okay, similarly md read as name and s as value, and a message body as name and mq as value. But this is one way to do that. Or what you can do is you can go to advanced properties. Okay, so you can see message body set to mq. Okay, and md write enabled and md write enabled. Okay, click on apply, review, and then save. Okay, so and you can also see there are no error messages this time on the destination queue manager. So let's clean again. Clean means reinstall the application and see again if we have any errors. So uninstalled successfully. Now it is uninstalled. So now it's installed again. Okay, so what is error? Okay, so this time we have different error. Okay, but the error is different. It says that error reading XML. Okay, so what is that? That is, so remember we already have 12 messages. Okay, and those 12 messages are from different systems, right? We put random messages from the Windows client, from the from here send source queue manager, right? Or even from the IID. Okay, but those messages are not in the format that this MQ component is expecting. So this MQ component is expecting XML type of data. So you can see that here, message configuration, details, binding. Yep. So it is asking the UTF XML data handler, some type of XML. Okay, so since those messages are not in proper XML, we got that error message. But if you refresh this one, see there are 6 messages already consumed from the receiver's queue. Okay, so now, so don't worry about the error. So now what we will do is we will try to test it with the proper message test component. So here test message 1. Okay, so go to XML editor, copy this, because this is the format that this piece is expecting, and click on okay. So just now invoke is returned. So we should be seeing the jet system out log message, right? See, the test message is done. Okay, so now what we will do is we will put the message in the send queue. Okay, so with the activation specification, okay, we'll put the message send queue. What it will do is send queue will send the message to receive queue, and receive queue is being polled. Okay, so put message. Okay, we need to put the send queue, put message, control V, test message 2, put it. So you can see the queue depth is 0, and the message will be passed here. So destination QM, message depth is 7, and what is the okay? So here just that test message 1, right? This is what we put. Yep. Actually no, let me clean out these messages. Okay, so to clean out that message, so to clean out the messages, what I did is I connected with the Windows client and issued the amks get command, so it got me all these messages. Okay, so when you get the messages, it says that no more messages, so it should be clean. So here let me refresh it, so it is clean, right? So now let me put the message again in proper format, Control C, Control V, but here I will put test message with the new format. Okay, put, so here the depth is 0 and destination Q depth is 1, but that Q depth should be 0, right? Because those messages should be consumed by the our VAS. Okay, so here you see I don't see that message printed here. Okay, the issue is whenever it encountered a message, that activation specification is deactivated, I guess. Okay, so you can see that is deactivated. So in order to do that, you need to stop it, click on no, and then go to servers and then clean again. Okay, uninstall. See if we have any errors here. So uninstalled, installed. So there are no errors. So let me start it. Test component, test message again. Copy this, send it. Okay, so let's see this. So test message. Okay, and then we'll go to our receiver queue, current depth. Okay, receiver's current depth is 0. So now let's put this message, test message from send queue. Okay, what it does is it sends this message to the destination queue manager. Okay, so this time the destination queue manager receive queue depth is 0 because it successfully, the VAS P successfully consumed the message and pasted it. See, test message from send queue. Okay, so there are no errors. Now let's put another message in the receiver's queue itself. Okay, because all IIDPs care about is receiver's queue. Okay, so whenever there is a message to receiver's queue, by any means it just consumes it. So let me put the message, Control B. Okay, not from here. Control A, Control C. With test message directly from receive queue. Okay, put the message. Oh, sorry. I think it's timed out. Let's see if it actually sent this message. Oh, it did not send. Okay, here let me put the message again. Test message from receive queue. Put it. See, still the current depth is 0. The only reason is it is consumed by the IID piece. Okay, so this is how you use the activation specifications. Thank you guys, thanks for watching.